Hello, how are you? My name is David from Welcome Back Comics. Here with an update about a local show we went to here in Virginia this past weekend. About half of a half a short box of stuff we picked up that I want to talk to you about a little bit, as well as a nice little bonus vintage nostalgia item for myself that we'll share at the end. So I wanted to start off with setting the scene. This is a local show, one of these one-day fire hall type shows, only comics, well, comics and sports cards, but no cosplay, no celebrity guests, anything like that. So a great place to just go pick up stuff, and for us, it's kind of part of our bread and butter of filling in holes to complete sets, occasionally finding some stuff that we can, sell for a little bit more than we find it for at the show. And typical, most of the guys there, variety of setups. We, as I've mentioned in previous video, kind of dwell at the bottom feeder level, so we're mostly looking at 50-cent and dollar books. This was an interesting show. There was somebody with quarter books, which almost never happens anymore. I'm going to talk about that towards the end as both a missed opportunity and probably where we picked up our most exciting part of the day, but again, a little bit behind the ball with a couple other people who got there first. But just going to show off a few things. Again, no super high ticket items, just a few things that were kind of interested in people's 50-cent and dollar bins. And again, as you know, if you know Welcome Back Comics, we really live in building sets, and again, we tend to sell a lot of dollar books, so we're not really purchasing books for our dollar collection there. We will occasionally buy a book for our $5 section, but really this is a lot about completing sets. Just some quick examples. Picked up, one guy had 50-cent stock, which is great because that's a great way for us to fill bigger holes in our set collections. I may have mentioned Earth X in my last video. Thought I had it completed, found out I forgot number X, and sure enough found it for 50 cents. A few other things not terribly exciting. Extraordinary X-Men. I believe we completed this run or almost completed it, so that'll be available at shows soon. And again, anything you see in this, if you are interested in it, you can feel free to ping us a message, and we'll let you know how much and work out getting it to you. We're still working on a new 52 Justice League set, but picked up a couple for 50 cents. Again, some of these sets not super exciting, but they'll hopefully sell at some point. I was happy to find a couple Mr. Miracles, pretty close to completing a couple sets of this, and finding number 11 for 50 cents for both the sets we need was great. Finishing up some New Mutants, finished a Spider-Woman set, which is exciting. I'm always happy when we finish a set. Just for a quick, I won't do this often with these videos, but just give a quick sense of what else is in this basement. Aside from my collectible stuff, all these boxes here are basically sets that are still waiting to be built. So anytime we find something that finishes a set, that's great because it clears up some space here in my basement. Again, nothing super exciting. Uncanny Avengers, the second run. I will say personally, the first run of Uncanny Avengers by Rick Remender, I thought was one of the best Avengers stories that had come out in a really long time. As you can see from my shirt, I'm an Avengers kid growing up. They're my favorite, especially Bronze Age Avengers stuff, and the Uncanny Avengers storyline I thought was fantastic. This second series by Zub didn't grab me quite as much, but still trying to finish off the set because we got most of it in the collection. And always fun to finish off the Who's Who or the Marvel Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe. Those are excellent sets to build. And again, doing more of this than I thought I'd do today. If you see down in my my display case, which I will do a video of at some point, you can see I've got the trade paperback version of the Official Marvel Handbook, which I think are really fun. Then found some stuff in a guy's dollar section. Mr. Miracle 2, again, helping to round out that set. Found a couple Spawns, 300 and 304. These are ones we'll probably try and flip for $5, so finding them for $1 was great to see. This one was just for me personally, Avengers of the Wasteland. I'm kind of curious to read. Different dollar section, was very excited to find the majority of the Batman Hush storyline. Obviously 608 and 612 are missing, but otherwise everything was there. Again, it's a fun set to build. I think we may have 608 and or 612 kind of lingering around in our wall box, so we may already have a complete set here with those books that we picked up. And lastly, though it's not what it used to be, Batman 2 and 3 from the New 52 series. Again, for $1 a piece, I'll pick them up and roll the dice that we can get a couple bucks for them. And then lastly, again, always happy to start rounding out this Mr. Miracle series. I'm going to talk a little bit about Tom King in just a second. In terms of his work. The Mr. Miracle series I liked, I didn't love. Well, let me get right to it. So there was another dollar section, a lot of dollar books at this particular show, and lots of stuff with decent dollar books. Picked up Batman 77. I don't know that anybody cares about this book anymore with the death of Alfred, but going back to my conversation about Tom King, I really like Tom King. I think his work is excellent. His Vision miniseries was one of the best things I've ever read. The Vision has been my favorite character since I was a kid. I feel like outside of the Avengers, nobody knew what to do with him until Tom King came along with his 12-issue miniseries. If you haven't read it, pick it up and read it now. I believe we have a set coming to our next series of shows. It's well worth every penny you'll spend on it. I also happen to really like the Tom King Batman run. This I may keep for myself because I've been picking up the run in dollar books or in dollar boxes. So I'm not sure I actually ever kept this one because for a while it was this hot book that was going for 20 or 25 bucks. Now I don't think it's anywhere near that. It might be a $5 book if we're lucky, but I may also keep it for myself because I really do like this run. Again, dollar books, Dark Knight's Metal #1. Pick that up for $1 if I see it. Same thing, Deceased #1. You can even see kind of with the glare from the light, a little bit of wrinkling on the cover, but still for $1 I'll pick it up. And then again, a bunch of stuff in the dollar books, not in anything super exciting, but most of Civil War II, we've got most of that set ready to go, so this will help us flesh that out. Same thing with Secret Wars, which again, kind of going back to what I've been reading in the last few years, I thought Secret Wars was probably one of the best series that's come out in a long time. I really, really enjoyed it. So always happy to build that set, both because it's, it sells, but also because it's fun for me when we put a set together of something that I really like and can really recommend to people. Found a Spider-Man Deadpool 1. Again, not a particularly hot book or high commodity book, but worth picking up for $1. Few things at another dealer who brings more recent overstock for $1. I don't think I've spent full price on a comic book in a long time, not just because I'm in the comic book scene, but because eventually if you go to enough shows, you find people selling them for $1. And occasionally when you miss out on something like that Batman 77, you might get lucky later or you pay a couple extra bucks at some point. So for me personally, I've been reading the Avengers run, generally enjoying it currently. Strike Force was kind of interesting to me. I'm not sure I like it, but for $1, I'll pick them up to read them and throw them back in our dollar section. And then lastly, Dead Man Logan, trying to finish that set off. So that was the sort of standard stuff that I expected to find at the show. 2 of those 4 dealers I just talked about are regulars, maybe 3 of them. 1 I hadn't seen before, but again, nothing spectacular in what they had for sale. This next guy was new to the show. I'd seen him before sort of helping other guys out, and unfortunately I was sleeping a little bit. I was looking through somebody's 50-cent stuff, and I thought I had kind of looked through the room to see if there were any dealers I didn't recognize, because usually if there are, that's where I'm going to go first. Turned out this guy was set up kind of in the basement baseball card section, so I didn't really look over there at first, but while I was going through the 50-cent books, I noticed a bunch of folks over there. That drew my attention, and I jumped over and got to some of their boxes. This was a guy who was selling for $1/4 book. Again, this is an unfortunate sob story of getting there after most folks have gone through. I saw one guy with a stack of books. Actually, I think he ended up with at least a short box, if not more, but a stack of about this big were just amazing Spider-Mans. I saw for sure the second and third appearance of Carnage. I'm not sure if 361 was in there as well. It may have been. Saw several of the McFarlane Spider-Mans right after 300. So again, this guy for $1/4 a piece was getting books that are easy $5, $10, $20 books. And just, again, I got there after he did, so I think he probably just picked up the entire Spider-Man section and took it. There was another dealer there who was just buying by the boxes. It was actually a little annoying. He had a couple boxes that he had somehow pulled and set to the back, and then there were still 4 or 5 boxes out in this guy's car, and this other dealer shopper guy was going to help him bring his boxes in, and I think ended up, like, one box came in half empty, another couple boxes didn't even make it back onto the showroom floor. So there's definitely some stuff I missed. That's too bad, but again, for $1/4 piece, getting a stack this big, not too shabby. Sorry for the wobble here. I've got this set up on a different display case that's not quite situated yet. So anyway, just to give you a sense of what we got here, Detective Comics, I'm sorry, not just Detective, well actually they're all Detective Comics, trying to round out the Nightfall series. Again, it's a sort of a fun set to sell. For $1/4, always going to pick up the Spider-Man, early Spider-Mans, the McFarlane run. 1 through 14 is a nice set. People really enjoy it. I'll hold off to these for the last because these were probably the most exciting books I found. Silver Surfer, epic 2-issue miniseries. Again, might try and make that a $5 set or something for $1/4 piece. No big deal. Some other stuff that nobody cares about that much anymore. Youngblood 2, for a minute, people cared about it. Again, we'll probably throw it in our $5 section. For a quarter pickup, that's not bad. I like to pick this up just for fun. The sort of return of Jean Grey to the mainstream Marvel universe. Again, I don't think anybody's really searching for this book, but here it is. This was nice find, Guardians of the Galaxy #1. This is probably a solid $10 book from the 1990s series. So again, all these were for a quarter, so they were no-brainers, even if we were going to sell them for a buck, but most of them are a little bit more. I like this Gotham by Gaslight book. You got Mike Mignola art on Batman. It's really great. Again, $5 section. Probably we'll sell that at some point. These were sort of an interesting pickup for me. This is just the last of the last few issues of the Batgirl Cassandra Cain series. We do this as a set sometimes, but we have to buy a collection with most of them in it. Often these last few issues are missing, and any series, the last few issues are kind of good to pick up because often people have dropped off the book at that point, so they can be a little scarcer to find. I may just hold on to these. They may go in those boxes I showed you earlier, just kind of waiting to complete a set at some point, or may throw them out there for a couple bucks at some show. Similar, the X-Men holographic covers, the Fatal Attraction storyline where Wolverine loses his adamantium. We'll throw all the, I believe it was 6 issues that went through X-Men, Uncanny, Wolverine, X-Factor, Excalibur. Maybe it was 5, maybe X-Force. Anyway, for a quarter, pick these up, try and complete the set at some point. Found a few more. I'm sorry, I had these a little bit out of order. Found a few more of the Spider-Man early McFarlanes. So again, always happy to find those for, honestly, even for a buck. So for a quarter a piece, that's great. And then last but not least, a bunch of Aliens and Predator, and Aliens miniseries. Again, these sets people really like. I've never read them. I like the Aliens movie well enough, but it wasn't my bread and butter. So I've never read them. People really seem to like them. They sell quickly for us. So finding them for a cheap price, we don't mark them up a ton. It's like a 6-issue miniseries. Maybe we'll sell for, I don't even remember, 15 or 20 bucks. So finding them for a buck a piece, it's kind of like, maybe, maybe not. But definitely finding them for less than $1.50 or in this case, a quarter. Great deal for both us and for the customers. And then, last but not least, the one thing I did manage to get to, I guess, before anybody else that I was excited to find was the entire run of Batman Year 2. So we've got Todd McFarlane working on Batman. This set, probably, I haven't looked at it closely. It seems to be in really good shape. My guess is we'll sell this set for 25 or 30 bucks. So again, being able to pick that up for a buck was really helpful. And again, anything you see, if depending on when we post these videos and our distribution strategy, if you see them and we've still got them and you're interested, let us know. We're happy to sell them before a show if that makes sense. So that's it for the comic book buying. I will say one other thing that I found that I was not expecting, that I will also be figuring out how to sell, although that was not my intent in buying them, was I found a complete set of these 1976 Marvel Top stickers, which I really love. They're a set of 40 plus there's the checklists. I'll make a Conan comic on the back, so that was included as well. I bought these because I have most of them, and I thought I was missing several from the set. And they were really cheap. They have a $70 price tag on them, but the guy was doing half off. So these were less than a buck a sticker. Normally, I feel like they go for at least $2 or $3 when I've seen them loose before. So as it turns out, though, I had all of them except maybe 2. I'm just going to quickly show, again, one of my personal collectibles and one of my favorites, the Marvel Mead binders from the 70s. And I store a lot of my... in this case, these stickers in them, along with some other stuff that maybe I'll show at another time. So these are generally what they look like. They're the old kind of Bronze Age Marvel characters. They all have some sort of funny line that they're saying. Tigra saying, "Cat food for dinner again." Damien Hellstrom, son of Satan, is saying, "Waiter, bring me a clean fork." Blah, blah, blah. So again, I really thought I was missing like half of the set. As it turns out, I was only missing 3 or 4. So I'm a little torn right now as to what to do. I'm on a couple of Silver Age collectible websites, or Silver and Bronze Age collectible websites. So I may post these up there at a couple bucks a piece, see if anybody wants them kind of loose. It's possible that I'll kind of bite the bullet and put back the couple that I need and try and sell the whole set together if it feels like that's a better way to do it. I was just excited to find it because, again, I don't often find, the kind of stuff that's in my display case. For the most part, I really like the Marvel collectibles from the 60s and 70s up to maybe the early 80s. Usually at kind of the Firehouse type shows, you're not going to find that kind of stuff. So I felt pretty lucky to have found this, and happy to kind of spread that back through the comic book community or the collectible communities that I'm part of via Facebook. So that's a not so quick video, 15 minutes or so, of how I spent my Sunday morning. And once again, this is David from Welcome Back Comics, and hopefully we'll see you soon.